she heard her sister accuse her of killing her son. Ugo said to her twin that she had always known that Ugo was not happy at the fact that their husband, the chief, showed preference to her, but she never believed that Ugo would stoop so low to kill her son just because she had no child of her own. Once upon a time, in a very small village, lived identical twin sisters named Udo and Ugo. Udo and Ugo were inseparable from birth, as they not only dressed alike, but also lived similar lives. They went everywhere together and were never apart, making it difficult to make friends in the village. All the young girls in the village who tried to make friends with the twins ended up despising them because of how they treated others. Ugo and Udo never realized the importance of kindness and empathy, as they were blinded by their own bond. One hot afternoon, they returned from the stream and met their father all smiles. "Father, you seem to be so happy today," Ugo asked, as her father revealed to her that a young man had come for her twin sister's hand in marriage. Ugo, on hearing this, flared up as she informed her father that her sister Udo was not interested in getting married to the suitor. When Udo walked in, her father informed her of the suitor who visited earlier to ask for her hand in marriage, and Udo seemed excited at the news. Ugo, on seeing her sister's reaction, couldn't understand why Udo was so eager to accept the proposal. Ugo confronted her sister Udo, demanding an explanation for her sudden interest in marriage. She reminded Udo of their bond, saying that as twins, they ought to get married on the same day to preserve the bond they had shared all their lives. Udo, on hearing this, asked how this would be possible, considering the fact that it would be difficult to find young men in the village who would be willing to get married to both of them on the same day. Ugo, after careful thought, informed her sister that the simple solution was for them to get married to the same man. The next day, the young man who came to ask for Udo's hand in marriage returned, and Udo informed him that if he wanted to marry her, then he should be willing to marry her twin sister too. The young man, on hearing this, declined, as he was not willing to take on two wives. As the months passed, several other suitors came around, but were chased away by the twins' strange requests. No one at this point was willing to marry the twin sisters, and this got their father worried, as he sat them down to explain the implications of their decision to get married to one man. Despite their father's intervention, the twins still had their minds made up to marry the same man. After so many years, an extremely rich chief approached their father to reveal his intention to marry Udo. Chief Kalu was a very wealthy man who lost his wife a few years ago. He was yet to have a son, as all he had was a daughter named Nkem. Chief Kalu's daughter Nkem was almost the same age as the twins, but regardless, he was still willing to marry Udo. When Chief Kalu made his intentions known to their father revealed to him that the twins had decided to get married to the same man. What this meant was that the chief had to marry Ugo as well to be able to marry Udo. Without hesitation, Chief Kalu agreed to marry the twins. He was the first man out of their many suitors who agreed to marry them both. The twins, after a lengthy conversation with their father, revealed their willingness to marry Chief Kalu. Their father, although against the idea, knew that only a man like Chief Kalu would agree to marry his twin daughters at once, so he had no other option but to allow them marry the chief. Not long afterwards, the marriage ceremony was conducted and the twins moved in with their husband. The chief's daughter Nkem never liked the twins and showed it at every given opportunity. One day, she accused the twins of stealing her valuable necklace given to her by her late mother. After hours of searching, the necklace was found under one of the twins' bed. The chief, on hearing this, paid no mind to his daughter as he handed the necklace back to her and walked away. This infuriated his daughter, who returned to her room furious. Chief Kalu, as the months went by, began to give so much attention to Udo, who he referred to as his favorite. This made her sister jealous, as she could no longer stand the idea that the chief preferred her twin sister to herself. The jealousy within the household grew, creating tension and a strained atmosphere between the sisters. Ugo decided to express her feelings to Chief, hoping for a resolution, but the chief laughed it off, saying that Ugo should accept the fact that her twin sister was his favorite, as there is nothing wrong in having a favorite. The chief's daughter Nkem began to mock Ugo, calling her all sorts of condescending names, as she knew that her father never loved her. She would always tell Ugo to stop wasting her time, as her father would never love her as much as he loved her twin sister Udo. As the days went by, Ugo began to feel resentment for her twin sister, who was getting so much attention from the chief in comparison to herself. One morning, Udo approached her sister Ugo to inform her that she was pregnant. Instead of feeling excited, Ugo felt a pang of jealousy as she never saw it coming. She had always envisioned them getting pregnant at the same time, hence the reason why she wanted them to get married to the same man. Ugo's jealousy intensified as she struggled to contain her negative emotions. She began to stay away from her sister, and the distance between them grew as the days went by. This carried on for months, and Ugo began to regret her decision to marry the same man with her sister. A few months later, Udo gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. Her sister Ugo, although jealous, stayed by her side to look after the baby. One morning, Udo walked into her room and noticed that her son was no longer breathing. Her sister Ugo had just bathed the baby that morning, and Udo wondered what could have happened. She screamed at the top of her voice as everyone gathered to know what could be happening. As Ugo approached her sister to find out why she was screaming, she heard her sister accuse her of killing her son. Ugo said to her twin that she had always known that Ugo was not happy at the fact that their husband, the chief, showed preference to her, but she never believed that Ugo would stoop so low to kill her son just because she had no child of her own. Udo, with tears in her eyes, told her husband to send her sister away as she didn't feel safe with her twin sister any longer. Without thinking twice, the chief sent Ugo packing as he warned her never to come close to his house again. Ugo, devastated by the accusations, left the chief's compound with a heavy heart. The villagers who witnessed the commotion were shocked by the tragic turn of events. As Ugo wandered through the village, she carried the weight of guilt and sorrow. Her relationship with her twin sister shattered as she felt isolated from the community. Rumors began to spread like wildfire, painting her as a villain who had allegedly taken the life of her nephew. Unable to face her father, Ugo wandered to an undisclosed location. However, her sister Udo remained in the chief's home as she mourned the death of her beloved son. The rift between Udo and the chief's daughter deepened. The once harmonious household was now clouded with grief, suspicion, and bitterness. Not long afterwards, Udo got pregnant again and gave birth to another baby boy. She woke up one morning and noticed that the baby was dead. This was the second child that was dying, and the chief, unable to grasp why his sons were mysteriously dying, decided to visit the village seer with his wife Udo to get to the root of the matter. The seer then revealed to them that an age-long covenant entered into was behind the deaths of the babies. The seer revealed that many years ago, the chief and his late wife entered into a covenant which said that if anything happened to either of them, none would be able to remarry, as doing so would attach to it grave consequences. This covenant was entered into many years ago, even before the chief's daughter was born. The seer explained that the lingering consequences of the ancient covenant were affecting the children born to the chief after his late wife's passing. The only way to break the curse was to seek the guidance of a very powerful man known for resolving such matters in the village. Udo and her husband, the chief, desperate to find a solution, went in search of the powerful man who revealed to them that the covenant made by the chief and his late wife held powerful spiritual consequences and could not be broken easily. Devastated at the revelation, Udo and her husband returned home with heavy hearts, realizing that their family was entangled in a fate beyond their control. The weight of the curse bore down on them as they faced the harsh reality of the consequences tied to the ancient covenant. Udo was now filled with regret as she remembered how she treated her twin sister. She decided to go visit their father as she hoped to meet her sister there to apologize for her actions. On her arrival, she noticed that her sister never returned to their father's house. Now terrified of the whereabouts of her sister, Udo began to search the whole village for her, and Ugo was nowhere to be found. For months, Udo prayed and hoped that her sister was all right. The guilt of what she did began to eat her up as she stopped eating and lost so much weight. She became a shadow of herself, and all efforts by the chief to cheer her up proved futile. One day, Udo decided to go to the village cave, which was the place where her sister and herself loved to spend time talking and laughing. She got there and began to weep as she called out her sister's name, urging her to return. As she was crying, an old woman emerged from inside the cave and asked why she was in tears. Udo narrated all that happened to the old woman, who told her that the journey of life is full of several bends and turns, and that what matters is arriving at one's destination. The old woman then spoke in a soothing voice as she told Udo that the path she treads may be fraught with challenges, but that within those challenges lies the key to her destiny. Confused by what the old woman was talking about, Udo wiped away her tears as she listened attentively. The old woman continued as she said that sometimes, to find what is lost, you must first discover the strength within. She told Udo that her sister Ugo was not lost, but that she was awaiting the right moment to reveal herself. Suspense hung in the air as Udo tried to comprehend the old woman's words. However, the old woman told her that she was tired and had to go rest, so she retreated into the cave, leaving Udo in a lot of confusion. Udo then returned home, and all she could think about were the words of the old woman. The next day, Udo returned to the cave and met the old woman again. She asked how she could find her sister, and the old woman told her to search within, as there lies her answer. Udo returned home more confused. She spent her time thinking till she remembered where her sister might be. She left her hut immediately as she headed straight for their mother's grave. On many occasions in the past, Udo had found her sister by their mother's graveside, as this was where her sister revealed that she felt most safe. As Udo arrived their mother's graveside, she was shocked at what she saw. The old woman she saw at the cave was standing next to her mother's grave, and Udo asked the old woman what she was doing there. To her greatest surprise, the old woman revealed that she was her twin sister Ugo. Not able to comprehend what the old woman was saying, Udo asked her for proof, and the old woman showed her a birthmark on her wrist, which both of them had as twins. How is this possible? Udo asked her sister, who began to narrate how she turned into an old woman. She revealed that after she was accused of killing her nephew, she left the village and journeyed to a faraway place. On her way, she met a very old man who promised to take all her problems away. He gave her an amulet, which he said could allow her change her appearance at will. Ugo, without thinking twice, took the amulet and transformed herself into an old woman. She was so excited at the fact that she could freely return to her village without anyone recognizing her. However, what she did not know was that the old man had tricked her into transforming herself into an old woman, as he capitalized on her vulnerability to take advantage of her. Ugo did all she could to transform to her normal self again, but couldn't, so she decided to go stay at the cave, as that was the only safe place she could remember. Udo, on hearing this, hugged her sister, who was now an old woman, and assured her that she would do everything within her power to find a solution to the problem. She then took her sister home, and when the chief returned, he was shocked to see an old woman in his house. "What is going on here? Who are you?" the chief asked, and Udo revealed to him that the old woman was her twin sister, Ugo. She explained all that happened to the chief, who allowed Ugo to live with them once again. The chief's daughter, Nkem, amused at the fact that Ugo had now transformed into an old woman, laughed hysterically as she walked past Ugo, murmuring hurtful words underneath her breath. Ugo, although heartbroken, remained hopeful that one day she would transform back to her true form. Months passed, and Ugo remained in her old form. She barely left the house as people began to troop to her hut to see the young woman, rumored to now be old. Unsure of how the villagers caught wind of the information, Ugo suspected that Nkem, the chief's daughter, was obviously responsible for the leak. Her twin sister Udo invited several powerful men and women to help transform her sister back to normal, but all they said was that the old man who gave Ugo the magical amulet was the only one who could transform her back to her normal self. Sad and confused, the twins decided to journey back to the village where Ugo last saw the old man. When they arrived the village, the old man was nowhere to be found. The twins knocked from door to door, asking if anyone had seen the old man, but no one knew who they were talking about. After days of futile search, the twins decided to return back to their village. On their way back, they saw a young boy who seemed lost and confused. Udo approached the boy to ask what he was doing all alone by the bushes, and the young boy revealed that he had no idea where he was. On seeing that everywhere was getting dark, Udo urged the boy to follow them home, as she could not risk anything bad happening to him. They arrived home late that evening and met their husband, the chief, who asked who the little boy was. Udo explained to him that the boy was lost and pleaded that they shelter him till they are able to locate his family. The chief, unable to say no to his favorite wife, agreed, and the little boy stayed with them in their hut that night. The next morning, Udo was in the kitchen preparing a meal when the young boy walked in and said to her that her baby was crying. Udo was confused as she had no child of her own after the death of her two sons. She looked at the boy confused and asked what he was talking about, and the boy pointed to her room, repeating what he said, that a baby was crying. Udo, unable to understand what was happening, prepared the meal quickly and headed out to find the young boy's parents. She walked for hours with the little boy, asking everyone they came across, but no one knew the little boy or where he had come from. Udo was so concerned as she wondered how worried his family would be at this point. However, they returned home, hoping to find the young boy's family soon. That same night, as everyone was asleep, Ugo heard a faint sound and decided to check what it was. She left her room and caught sight of the young boy in tears. She asked why the boy was crying, but her questions were left unanswered as the young boy remained mute. Ugo comforted the little boy and went back to bed as she believed that the boy was crying because he missed his family so much. By morning, everyone woke up and noticed that the little boy was nowhere to be found. They searched the whole hut but couldn't find him anywhere and guessed that he would have gone away to find his family. So many hours later, the young boy returned with an old woman who claimed to be his grandmother. The old woman was so grateful to Udo for housing her son and thanked her with all of her heart. As the old woman was about leaving, she turned back and looked at Udo as she mumbled some words underneath her breath. Late that evening, Udo felt a sharp pain in her stomach. She screamed out in pain, and when her sister Ugo rushed in, she met Udo wincing in pain. They rushed her to the village herbalist, who revealed that she was pregnant again. This was scary, as Udo dreaded the fact of being pregnant after losing two babies already. When the chief heard that she was pregnant, he became worried as he could not stand losing another child to the cold hands of death. He heard of a very powerful woman who lived at the outskirts of their village and decided to visit the woman with his wife Udo, hoping that the woman could help them save their unborn baby. When they arrived at the woman's hut, Udo realized that the woman was the grandmother of the young boy she saved not so long ago. The old woman was so happy to see Udo again and asked why they had come to her hut. Udo revealed to the old woman that her husband entered into a covenant with his late wife that has claimed the lives of her two babies in the past. She then told the woman that she was pregnant again and feared what will happen to the baby when it is born, and the woman smiled at her and revealed that the problem had long been sorted. She revealed to Udo that on the evening when she returned with her grandson, she realized that Udo and her family were plagued by an age-long covenant which prevented them from enjoying the fruits of their marriage. So the old woman on that day mumbled some words underneath her breath, which broke the effects of the covenant, setting Udo and her husband free from the covenant that had held them bound for years. She revealed to them that their unborn child would not die, but live a very long life. This brought Udo to tears, as she could not believe that she would finally be a mother. Chief Kalu was so excited as he thanked the old woman for her kindness and was glad that Udo decided to help the little boy on that fateful day, as her act of kindness ended up rewarding them greatly. The next day, the chief's daughter Nkem returned home and informed her father that a young man had asked for her hand in marriage. Her father was so excited, as this was the first man to declare an interest in his daughter. He told Nkem to invite the young man to their home, and Nkem informed her father that the young man was planning on performing the marital rites on his visit. She further stated that the young man had no family, as all his family members died in a fire many years ago. Her father, filled with sympathy, agreed to the arrangement, as his daughter's happiness was all that mattered to him. A few days later, the young man visited and introduced himself to the chief as Chisom, revealing his intentions to marry Nkem. He pleaded with the chief to allow him perform the marital rites discreetly, and the chief agreed, as this was his beloved daughter's wish. The marital rites were now performed, and Nkem was now married to Chisom. Shortly afterwards, Udo returned home and met the young man in her home. She was shocked, as she had never seen him before. Her sister Ugo, on noticing that Udo had returned, emerged from inside her hut and caught sight of Nkem and the young man. Immediately she set her eyes on the young man, she transformed back into her young self, whilst the young man transformed into a very old man. Everyone's mouth opened in shock, as Ugo realized in that moment that the young man who came to marry the chief's daughter was the old man she had been looking for all this while. The chief's daughter was so devastated, as she could not believe that she was married to the old man standing before her. Ugo, now in her youthful form, confronted the old man with rage burning in her eyes. She demanded an explanation for the deceit and manipulation he had subjected her to for years. The old man then revealed that he was a sorcerer who had sought to regain his youth. He admitted to using deceptive means to trick Ugo into giving up her youthful appearance for him. The chief, enraged at all that had transpired, reported the sorcerer to the king of the village, who locked him up in the palace dungeon to prevent him from using his powers to disrupt the lives of innocent people in the village. The marriage between Nkem and the sorcerer was automatically annulled, and Nkem learnt her bitter lesson never to take hasty decisions when making life-changing choices. The experience also taught her to treat others better, as she noticed how concerned Ugo and Udo were for her well-being. Instead of mocking or laughing at her, the twins showed her sympathy, and in that moment, she realized that she had acted terribly to them all these years for no justifiable reason. Nkem vowed to change her ways and decided to live in peace with her father's twin wives. Not long afterwards, Udo gave birth to twin boys who were so healthy and strong. The boys lived a very long life, bringing joy to Udo and her husband Chief Kalu. The twins, grateful for the intervention of the old woman, continued to live harmoniously with Chief Kalu, who learned to love them equally. The lesson to be learned from this story is that we should always be kind to people we come across in life, as we never know when an act of kindness may come back to reward us. Udo's decision to help the lost young boy not only saved him, but also led to the intervention of the old woman. In essence, the story encourages kindness, honesty, unity, and personal growth as essential values for a fulfilling and harmonious life. It suggests that even in the face of challenges, a compassionate and virtuous approach can lead to unexpected blessings and long-lasting happiness. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.